Hello, so today we are going to cover 5 more of Adrien Brody's lesser known or underrated films. We're going to go in chronological order again like we did for part 1. So first up we have Oxygen. It came out in 1999. It was directed by Richard Shepard. In Oxygen, Adrien plays a kidnapper and all-around sadistic dirtbag who goes by the name of Harry Houdini. The audience never learns his real name. There is a scene where the detectives talk to his orthodontist, so they get his real name, but we never hear it for reasons, I guess. Adrien's co-lead is Maura Tierney. She plays a detective named Madeline Foster, who is interviewing Harry. Now, I can tell that Adrien's performance in Oxygen is very good. You know how I can tell? Because I don't like this guy. Adrien, no matter how disturbing a character is, there's something about them that is still kind of likable. There's still a humanity to them. But this guy is just insufferable. In the context of the film, he's good, you know, but this person in real life would drive me nuts. And he wants to. That's the thing. He kind of thrives on being as irritating as possible because he wants Madeline to lose her cool and, you know, come down to his level, basically. And so that's kind of the whole back and forth of the film. I guess you would call it a psychological thriller. It's like The Silence of the Lambs light. There is one scene where he's riding in a helicopter and he has kind of a childlike excitement about it. I would say that's the only scene where Harry is the least bit likable. I read a description of the character that called him both intriguing and repulsive. So there you go. The date that Adrien took to the premiere of this film just completely ghosted him after. So that gives you some idea. If you can get a hold of the DVD of this film, I would recommend that because the commentary is awesome. It features the director Richard Shepard and Adrien and Maura Tierney. And it's funny and it's insightful and it's the best part, in my opinion. Next up, we have Bread and Roses. It came out in 2000. It was directed by Ken Loach. So our story mostly focuses on a character named Maya, played by Pilar Padilla, who is smuggled into Los Angeles from Mexico. She stays with her sister, Rosa, who has a job with a janitorial company. And so she pulls some strings to get Maya into the country and into this job. To say their work environment is unpleasant would be a vast understatement. There's virtually no job security, and the boss, played by George Lopez in a scenery-chewing performance, is a complete bully and will fire people on a whim, and you know he's a power tripper kind of guy. So he gets away with this because a lot of his workers, like Maya, are undocumented immigrants. So he feels like, oh, well, you know, you have no recourse, so I can treat you however I want. So enter Sam Shapiro, who is a union organizer trying to help improve the conditions. Sam is part comic relief, part object of affection, and part ally. Sam perhaps leans a little bit into the, you know, white guy here to help minorities kind of trope, but I wouldn't say that's played to the extreme. And I mean, there is some truth to that because a lot of times allies are the only ones that people in power listen to. So, I mean, it's not unrealistic. There are times when Bread and Roses veers into preachy territory, and there are times when the characters do things that just kind of don't make sense, especially Maya. There's something she does toward the end of the film that just kind of defies all logic. But it was kind of needed to push the plot along, I guess. Overall, I would say Bread and Roses is something worth checking out. It's a good story. It's a little heavy at times. It's a little light at times. It's a pretty good balance. Next up, we have Harrison's Flowers. It was directed by Elie Shiraki. It came out in Europe in 2000, but it didn't hit the US until 2002. It probably had something to do with Adrien becoming more famous in 2002 and a lot of his movies getting pushed out for release at that time. So in the beginning, our story focuses on Harrison Lloyd, who is played by the fantastic David Strathairn. He's a celebrated photojournalist who goes missing in Yugoslavia in 1991 during a war they were having. So a lot of people assume that he is dead, but his wife, Sarah, played by Andie MacDowell, refuses to believe it. She says something would have broken inside if he was really dead. So she starts watching news footage obsessively, just looking for signs. And she spots someone from behind that she thinks is Harrison. And so she decides to go over there and look for him. So she ends up in a town called Vukovar, kind of in the thick of all the battling. And she comes across some other journalists, one of whom is played by Adrien. So Adrien plays a character named Kyle Morris, who is, as I mentioned already, a photojournalist. He has a drug problem and a very large chip on his shoulder. And we get the vibe from an earlier scene that he and Harrison don't have the best relationship, but they do seem to still respect each other. So Kyle basically tells Sarah, you are insane and this is never going to work. And when it becomes clear that she's not going to listen to him and she's not going to be stopped, he decides to help her, as do the other two men. Kyle Morris is one of my favorite performances by Adrien because Kyle is both flawed and heroic and somehow both selfish and selfless. It's quite an interesting balance, and he plays the character with a lot of subtlety. It's a really good performance. And also in this film are Elias Koteas, who was in The Thin Red Line with Adrien, and Brendan Gleeson, who was in The Village with him later on. They have a fantastic chemistry, he and Gleeson. Now we come to Backtrack. It came out in 2015 and was directed and written by Michael Petroni. It's what you would call a thriller, I think, but there are elements of supernatural horror, mystery, drama. Adrien plays Peter Bauer, an Australian psychologist who's coming to grips with the passing of his daughter Evie. Yes, I said Australian. I think he did the accent really well. I've heard some Australians say the same thing, so there you go. Now, Peter starts experiencing flashes of repressed memories, and he doesn't quite understand why at first. He faces some challenges with his patients, I will say, and he kind of starts to figure out that the two things are connected. So he starts exploring that further to find some peace for himself and for his patients. And that's probably about all I should tell you about the plot. There are a lot of twists and turns in it, and if you're planning on seeing it, which I think you should, I don't want to spoil all that for you, so we'll just stop there. And lastly, for now, we come to Bullethead. It was directed by Paul Solet. It came out in 2017. It's sort of a crime thriller action drama. Adrien plays a character named Stacy. I don't know if that's his first or last name because the characters kind of go by nicknames, and so we don't really know. Stacy is an experienced thief who's pulling the proverbial last job. And so Adrien does a very good job with this part, especially in the scenes that require more emotional depth, of course. That's his thing. You can tell Adrien was really enjoying himself in this movie. Stacy is the kind of character he doesn't really get to play much, which is one of the main reasons I put it on this list. I wanted to include things that are a little different than you would expect from him, so that's why it's here, and also because it is an underrated film. Stacy's backstory actually plays out a little better in deleted scenes, but I think those were removed in order to make him a little more mysterious. But if you're curious, there are deleted scenes on the DVD that you can check out. So the entire cast did well in Bullethead, I would say. John Malkovich plays a character named Walker, who's sort of a mentor to Stacy. He was very subtle here, very kind of dialed back and laid back. And it's a really effective performance. Rory Culkin's character is only referred to as Kid in the film, but apparently, according to IMDb, his name was Gage. Rory almost stole the show here. He was remarkable. He had a lot of heavy lifting to do, a lot of stuff, a lot of intense stuff to act out, and he really nailed it. This is going to sound weird, but I am 100% serious. The best performance in Bullethead is by a dog named Han Solo, who plays a character named De Niro. He has the best character arc, and I think Paul Solet wanted to make the film about him. And the way it's structured is that's kind of subtle. You know, you're getting a very important message about fighting dogs and what they go through, but not in a preachy way. It's just part of another story. It's very well done, and I think Bullethead is well worth your time. I was very surprised by it. It had a lot more heart than I was expecting. It's a good one. So thank you for joining me on this journey through 5 more of Adrien's underrated, underseen, underappreciated kind of films. This was kind of the main purpose for this channel, is to spread the word about some of his not so famous movies. So I hope you forgive me for doing 2 of these. I will likely end up doing a 3rd because even while I was compiling this list, I kind of had a few more in mind. So thank you for being here. I really appreciate your support, and I will see you next time. Take care.